kids with chicken pox love hot dogs. You're kind of aware of her mouth moving, but you have no idea what she's saying. Then you hear the words inhaling mold spores, and like that, you're back. You have no idea what the conversation is, and Kathy has just stopped talking. She's staring at you, or slightly to the right of you because of her lazy eye, expecting you to say something. What do? What do you do? Solution? Some people might tell you that you could fake Kathy out by nodding your head and saying, I see. I'm here to tell you that that's not going to work unless she's part of 0.1% of the country who are hypnotized by people humming. The only proven way to get yourself out of this embarrassing situation is to say something about Gloria Estefan. I'm telling you, as long as you commit to it, she can fit into any conversation. You don't believe me? Here's proof. Kathy is still staring at you, waiting for a response, while you've dutifully considered, then rejected the honesty of the options. Finally, you say, that sounds a lot like Gloria Estefan. Kathy looks at you funny and says, what's that got to do with copper plumbing? To which you respond, well, Gloria Estefan is the copper plumbing of the music industry. She's beautiful, durable, reliable, indestructible. I mean, look how she came back after that bus accident. Are you going to debate me on this? And presto, you're back in the conversation, and nobody's the wiser. Situation. Accidentally revealing intimate thoughts to a stranger. Revealing intimate thoughts to a stranger isn't always embarrassing. In fact, sometimes it's downright therapeutic. Many people pay strangers to listen to their darkest fantasies and most perverse secret thoughts. Those strangers are known, of course, as Starbucks baristas. But, like most situations in life, when there's no money changing hands, the chances of being embarrassed multiply significantly. So, you're still at the party, standing next to Kathy and experiencing one of those long, uncomfortable silences that only true friends who have nothing to say to one another get to enjoy. Perhaps you make eye contact with the host of the party. A flash of recognition passes over his face, much like the flash that sprung up from his bed when you set it on fire. His face turns ashen, not ashen like the beloved first edition books that you tried to put the fire out with, but gray and pale, and he runs off. Probably a funny reaction to the onion dip, you think to yourself. Still looking after the host, you feel the need to reveal something deep and significant to your old friend Kathy. So you say, my underwear keeps going up my crack. You hear somebody say, excuse me? Then you turn and see not Kathy, but a total stranger. You don't recognize any of her, not even her elbow or a little bit of her ear. Kathy has ditched you. That's it, you say to yourself, I'm going to forget her name again. The stranger looks at you and says loudly, did you just say your underwear keeps going up your crack? People start to look at you. What do? What do you do? Solution. Deny, deny, deny. Or, to paraphrase Sergeant Schultz, one of the most beloved Nazi soldiers in television sitcom history, I know nothing, I said nothing. So when the stranger asks again if you said your underwear was going up your crack, you calmly look at her and shriek, no, of course not, are you kidding? What? No. Now, there's a chance she'll ask, well then what did you say? Don't panic. Just think of something that sounds like what you said and say that instead. For instance, you misheard me, stranger. What I said was, my bear keeps going up my crack. If she says incredulously, your bear keeps going up your crack, well then all bets are off. It's now time for a different strategy. Attack, attack, attack. Look at her and say, listen, I've had just about enough with the questions. Who are you anyway? I don't know you. I don't owe you any explanation. You are way too curious for me, old lady. Why don't you go stand next to somebody else and eavesdrop on them, you weirdo? That's usually when Kathy comes back and says, oh great, I see you've met our host's grandmother. Situation. Hug, kiss, or shake hands. Believe it or not, it is as potentially awkward to greet someone whose name you remember as it is to greet Kathy. That's because you never know what physical action to take upon meeting. Do you shake their hand? Do you hug them? Do you kiss them? Or trickiest yet, do you do the complicated hug-kiss combo? What makes this combo tricky is knowing the order of the beats involved. If you think you're going to kiss on the cheek first, then hug, and your friend feels the opposite, you could end up kissing your friend on the ear, or if your friend is very tall, on the chest. Either way, it's potentially embarrassing. As is sticking out your hand while your friend tries to kiss you, inevitably ending up with a gooey, kiss-drenched hand. So you're at the party and the host is approaching you quickly. It's hard to believe you've been at the party long enough to chit-chat, have a few drinks, and eat the first piece of his grandmother's birthday cake without saying hi to the host. Looking back, you probably should have waited for them to light it, but you just assumed that they, like you, were forbidden by court order from playing with matches. Now, there he is marching towards you, and you have no idea how to greet him. What do you do? What do you do? Solution. The answer to this dilemma is as simple as it is uncomplicated. Let your friend make the first move and respond accordingly, or accordionly if you know how to play one. What's important for this strategy to work is to adopt the right stance so that you're ready for whatever physical greeting is about to be laid on you. I recommend legs shoulder-width apart, shoulders leg-width apart, and arms outstretched but with a little bend in the elbows so that you don't look like you're being crucified. If your friend, undertaking the same strategy, approaches you with the same stance, that's okay too. I've had long conversations with people where both of us stood a foot away from each other, our arms outstretched, talking for hours. Situation: accidentally flipping off John Travolta. Granted, the odds of this situation happening are fairly rare, maybe 1 in 8 at best, but in my book it's best to be prepared. And since it's my book that you're listening to, I'm guessing you feel the same. So you're at the party standing in the neutral position ready to greet your host when he surprises you by grabbing your arm, pressing it into your back, and pushing you towards the door, all the while screaming in a high-pitched voice, "What are you doing here, you crazy bed-burning lady person?" For some reason, whenever your host gets mad, he talks like Jerry Lewis. The next thing you know, you're being thrown out the door, being given what your father calls the bum's rush. You feel hurt, insulted, and angry, especially since your father was at the party and did nothing to stop your humiliation except to say, "Look, she's being given the bum's rush." So, you get in your car and decide to drive until your anger and your buzz from your 3 dirty martinis you had wears off. You're driving at the legally acceptable 20 miles above the speed limit when some jerk cuts in front of you, going a mere 15 miles above the limit. Infuriated, you drive